Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk 716 Sports. My special guest is Josh, and we will be talking Buffalo Sabres hockey.
How's it going, guys? Glad to be on. Excited to talk some Sabres hockey. It's nice that the city of Buffalo's got some positivity in it with the Sabres and the Bills doing well. I got my Bills windbreaker on, so feeling good about the city of Buffalo right now, especially from the other side of the border. I'm close to Niagara, so we can kind of see the place sometimes. But yeah, I'm excited to talk some Sabres. Let's get to it.
How do you think that Coach Granato is doing with like the coaching so far?
I think he's doing a pretty good job. He's bringing a fresh look to the Sabres team, and they're building around. They're making improvements and building on the positive steps they're making. So you win the first 3 games of the season, and you're starting to build a positive winning culture around that team, which I think is something he was looking to instill from the beginning. Buffalo, they got to take small steps. They can't instantly, shoot for the moon, because they're not going to be able to do that. They don't quite have the star power yet, and they've had a negative offseason. They had a rough, they've had a rough decade with ownership issues and coaching issues, upper management issues. They didn't have a scouting department for a while, so seeing them being able to turn it around at the beginning of the season and kind of start it off positive. And I think a lot of that is because of the coaching. He's playing to their strengths and not trying to do something that's unrealistic for them to do. They're doing all this without Jack Eichel, which makes it even more impressive. And he's giving each player a role. I like what he's doing with Jeff Skinner. They're making Dahlin look pretty good on the back end as well. And, the goaltending hasn't been awful. They're able to cover that up with the way they play defense. So far, I'm pretty impressed with how he's doing it. And they're a fun team to watch, which is something you want to do. It kind of reminds me of the Leafs year before they got Austin Matthews. They had the intention of finishing last, but at least they made it fun for the fans to watch. And they're kind of doing that this year with the guys on this team. They're giving them something to play for, and it's always positive to get a couple wins as well. And they've been able to do that so far. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the way he's been coaching.
Do you think that like Jack Eichel would be out of Buffalo sooner rather than later in the season?
Well, here's the thing with the whole Jack Eichel situation. I don't think there's an end in sight. I'm sure we all know, and I'm sure your listeners know too, the whole story behind it. So he apparently is going to be making a grievance pretty soon. I don't think that's going to work too well for him, because when you sign a contract, it's in the CBA that the team controls your medical procedures. They're able to say yes, they're able to say no. And in this case, if it went to arbitration or it went to litigation or whatever the heck they're calling it, it's just going to, the law firms and the lawyers and the courts are just going to say, hey, you signed this, right? And they'll be like, yeah, okay, well, case closed, you can't get the surgery. What they're probably doing here is trying to put a little bit of pressure on the Sabres. And I don't think it's helped his case. It's helped the Sabres. I don't think it's helped his case that they've started so positively, because now there's no rush to bring him back, because they're saying, okay, we can play without him. We're doing well here, building something in the absence of Jack Eichel, which is probably what it's going to be for the future. And, to get to your question on, do I think he's gone sooner than later? I don't think he's gone during the season this year. You're probably looking at the off season, where teams have a better idea of what they have and what they're going to have going into next season. So yeah, I think it's probably after the Cup's raised that he's moved, because he probably won't play this year anyway. So you don't want that dead cap. Teams probably won't want to go into LTIR for him. And then also in the offseason, you have that 10% overage you can use, so you can kind of tinker around a little bit. But I don't think he's going to play another game as a Buffalo Sabre.
How do you think the Sabres are doing so far through like 6 games, but probably when this is posted, it'll be 7?
They're doing well. They've surprised me. I was expecting them to kind of start slow because there was, again, there was a lot of negativity around them going into the year, but they started well. I'm just trying to pull up here. Yeah, so they opened the season with a big 5-1 win over the Canadians. That's huge. And then they beat the Coyotes 2-1, which people were saying that's going to be a battle at the bottom, and it was going into the year. That's two of the on paper worst teams in the NHL, but they beat the Coyotes 2-1 in a shootout. Then you roll in and you beat the Canucks 5-2, and now you're 3-0 to start the season. That's really good. You kind of get beat up by the Bruins a little bit 4-1, and then the Devils beat you 2-1. But then you have a big win against the Lightning, a 5-1 win against the best team in the NHL. That's huge for them. And now they have a nice, I think they're going on their California road swing now. So you got the Ducks, Kings, and Sharks, all teams who are probably at an equal level or a little bit below Buffalo's skill level. So they got some chance to get some points here and kind of start really positive. Through the first 6 or 7 games, through the first 6 games, they look really, really good. And I'm impressed with them. I always want to see teams do well, and the NHL is better when Buffalo is good because it's a great hockey city, great hockey market. And selfishly, as a Leafs fan, I want to see them be good too, so we can kind of get that rivalry back, because it's been kind of a one-sided rivalry the last couple of years. And you know what? It makes it more fun if they're doing well. When it comes in, I think it's like March 13th, they got the outdoor game here. So if they're doing well and the Leafs are doing well, that could be a fantastic outdoor game. And I hope the Sabres keep on rolling.
How are the Toronto Maple Leafs doing so far this year?
Not so good. So we just squeezed out a win over the Blackhawks. We beat them 3-2 in overtime, shut out William Nylander with the game winner. We played really well against the Rangers. We got goalied, lost that one in overtime. We beat the Senators on the opening Saturday of the year. You open with a win against the Canadians. But other than that, the team has looked uninspired, no effort. They don't really want to be. It looks like they don't want to be out there. They don't want to be playing. They're not putting in that extra effort it takes to win. There's no communication. Tonight looked a little bit better. There was a lot of loud voices on the ice, which was positive to see. But again, you can't be blowing. You can't go into the first period and give up a 2 spot right away to the Chicago Blackhawks, who haven't even held the lead all year, especially with all the situation that's surrounding them right now. And then you go in and you give them the 2 spot, and you're down and out already. Luckily, they were able to scratch back. I'm hoping they can use this game kind of as a launching platform to keep going, because that's a big win for them. They faced adversity. They were down 2-0, and they were able to fight back. Campbell played a huge game. Matthews was looking good. Again, Nylander with the game winner, and Caution Camp finally showed up. Nick Ritchie looked really good. Pierre Engvall was mixing it up. I am a little bit concerned about Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall, because they kind of look like a shell of them former selves. I think Muzzin is injured. Justin Hall just needs to figure it out. And then, we got Morgan Riley. He just kind of needs to get his legs moving a little bit more. I don't think he's playing to the best of his ability. I think they'll be fine. But us Leafs fans like to overreact to the littlest things. So when we started the season like we did, it got blown way up. And I think most of it was justified. Some of it was maybe a little bit out of proportion, but there definitely needs to be a little more effort. Is a big move coming? I don't know. It's probably not Keefe being shipped out, because he hasn't even had a full year to coach this team. He had a year that was cut short because of the pandemic, and then they had the pandemic shortened season where he didn't really get a full training camp. So this is his first 82 game season with a training camp. And I don't think it's Dubas, because he's ride or die with this team. He's kind of put himself into a corner, and there's no way out. So if he was to go, it's at the end of the year. So that only leaves to trade one of your players, but then who are you trading? The only guy who's going to be easy to move is Alexander Kerfoot. Do you look at shipping out Riley? Some would say yes. I say that's pointless, because then you have to find a guy of equal value to bring back, or guys, and then you're kind of just taking a step sideways. Probably not moving Marner. I don't think anybody's taking on that cap hit, and you're not going to trade your captain or Austin Matthews, who's your perennial 50 goal scorer, if you can actually play a full healthy season. So we're starting to take steps in the right direction with this win tonight. But again, you got to respond on Saturday against Detroit and follow it up with another consistent effort.
I know the Sabres play like Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. Who are the next opponents for the Maple Leafs?
So I believe they have Detroit on Saturday, which should be a pretty big game. Detroit's looked really good, kind of in a similar spot to Buffalo where they're rebuilding. I think Detroit's a little bit more ahead of Buffalo in the rebuild. But Detroit's fun, man. They got some young guys who are putting up some major numbers. So that's going to be an interesting game. And then the Leafs have, after that, I think it's Vegas and then Tampa. So they got a little bit of a test coming up. Yeah, so they got Red Wings Saturday, Vegas on Tuesday, Tampa on Thursday, and then Boston on Saturday. So they got a tough schedule. They got the Wings, the Knights, the Lightning, the Bruins. So you're playing in your next 4 games, you're playing 3 of the top 5 teams in the NHL. This is really going to put this team to the test to see how they can play against the big boys. We haven't seen these teams in over a year because of the whole, pandemic situation. Haven't played the Golden Knights in over 2 years. Same with the Lightning, same with the Bruins. And that Bruins game is one I'm going to have my eyes on because that's a Saturday night game at home. And they're going to have to show up for that one. And the Lightning too. And Vegas, man. They're going to have to play well against all these teams. That's going to be a real test to see where this team is at, which is why they need to have a really good game against Detroit to carry that momentum into that 3-game stretch that could kind of elevate them or demote them a little bit.
How do you think like Austin Matthews is doing so far?
I think it's kind of hard to judge his performance so far because he missed training camp. He didn't play any preseason games because of the surgery he had to his wrist. So it's kind of hard to judge his performance fairly. From what I've seen so far, his first game was against the Rangers. He had 8 shots on net and 16 shot attempts, which is just phenomenal. But then after that, he kind of stepped away for 2 games. He didn't really look engaged. He looked disinterested. He gets one by Anderson when they played the Hurricanes, but then after that, he was invincible. He looked pretty good tonight. He was barking at some of his own teammates tonight. I think he was yelling at Justin Hall a couple times to kind of smarten up. And then in the postseason, in the post-game celebration, he was giving it to a Chicago fan. So, he's getting a little bit more engaged, and he's going to keep rolling.
Do you think that like the Sabres on offense are getting more pucks on goal?
Yeah, I do. The Sabres, they're doing a really good job of crowding the net and getting the pucks to the net that they need to do and not getting any clean looks for the goaltender. Jeff Skinner, he's kind of stepped it up a little bit this year. Of course, he's still playing below what his salary should be. And then, it's just guys putting in hard work. Like I'm looking at their roster right now. I wouldn't say they have any superstars, but it's guys who can play in the league and are willing to do the work to get a goal. So if they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be okay. What they make the playoffs might take a little bit of a miracle, but hey, you never know. Weirder things have happened.
Do the Sabres look good on the back end, like in the defense?
That's tough to say because like their defense, it was a question going into this year, especially when they extended Rasmus Dahlin for 3 years at $6 million. He's still an RFA at the end of that, and they have control. But then, who do you have back there outside of Dahlin that can, play consistently at NHL level? You got Colin Miller. He's 28, kind of in his prime, but making $3.8 million. He might be slightly overpaid. Wool Butcher and Robert Hagg. Those are guys who can, again, play, but 26 years old. What are they? What are they not? Are they able to keep going? And then, Jacob Bryson maybe is your other guy, but he's on an ELC. But they're doing enough to keep pucks out of the net and protect their goaltenders of Craig Anderson and Dustin Tokarski. And, shout out Craig Anderson and Tokarski. They're doing a fantastic job, especially Craig Anderson. I think Tokarski's look really good as well, but they're keeping the puck away from them so they don't have to do too much effort. But I think they could get exposed later on in the season when teams start to figure out what they're doing.
Like, how far into the season do you think the Sabres are going to be like exposed to that where they would have to start using their goalies?
That's a tough question. It really depends how you're going to have to start relying on your goalies probably around American Thanksgiving, because that's when teams kind of get their systems in place. They got their final roster set. They've got to look at everybody. They got their lineup set, and you take it up to that next level. But maybe it's a little bit later than that because they're able to hang on a little bit. But there is going to come a point where the defense is figured out and teams are finding ways to get to the net and around the defense. So probably between American Thanksgiving and Christmas, you'll start to see more pucks. The Sabres goaltenders facing more pucks.
What do you think of like the Sabres having Fridays where they wear their white jerseys at home?
I love it. The NHL needs more character. The white jerseys are always they look clean on the ice. Yeah, I mean, do whatever you want, make you happy, as long as you're not, hurting anybody or offending other people or cultures or whatever. Wear whatever jersey you want. I don't really mind it.
I kind of like it because back in like the 90s, that like 95 or so, they used to wear the whites at home and then the darks on the road.
Yeah.
And I think they should kind of go back to that, like where like the road team would wear their dark jersey and the home team would wear their white jerseys. So like you can kind of see the colors.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't get the whole like you have to wear this jersey at home, you have to wear this jersey on the road. As long as the teams aren't color clashing, I don't see an issue with both teams being able to wear their home jerseys if they wanted. Like if say Toronto goes and plays in Dallas and Dallas wears their home green and Toronto wears their home blue. That's you're gonna still know which team is which. It doesn't really matter to me what color you're wearing as long as you can still distinguish the two teams. But white jerseys at home is always for some reason sparks a discussion.
What is the name of the podcast that you're on? So
I'm on two podcasts. So the first one I'm on Offside Hockey Talk, and that's hosted by James, who I think was supposed to come on, but I think he's under the weather, so I stepped in for him. So that's Offside Hockey Talk. We record every Mondays and sometimes twice a week. It really depends on what's going on. And then the other show is the Orient Sportscast. That's my show. I host that with Brandon Waterhouse and Jarek Moore. We record 3 times a week, and we do a hockey show, a wrestling show, and a basketball show.
Do you have any questions so far?
Just one. As a Sabres fan yourself, how are you feeling about the team so far?
I think that the team looks good so far, like from what I could see, and being able to watch it, because some of the games are on ESPN Plus that some of us don't get because it's on a streaming site.
Right. But yeah, like I'm happy for Sabres fans, man, because like I've been saying numerous times, they were down and out for the last decade, and there's a little bit of positivity with this season. And you guys haven't even added oh, what was his name? You drafted him first overall. It's evading me. Owen Power. He hasn't even stepped into the lineup yet. So, and you have a couple other guys in your farm system that's going to bring this team up to the next level, and lots of cap space to play with. So it seems to only be going up for the Buffalo Sabres right now.
What do you think of Dylan Cousins so far?
Uh, good, good player. I still think there's a lot of questions to be asked about him. He still has 2 years left on his ELC, so they do have time to figure that out. I think he's still finding his place in the league and what he wants to be. Does he want to be a center? Does he want to be a winger? He's only, like I said, he's only 20 years old, making $894,000. So we'll see what he is. He's going to take some time to kind of find his identity in the league, but I think he is going to be a star for this team for sure. Hopefully they can keep him around.
When do you think the Sabres will be able to have Owen Power in the lineup?
Probably next year. He's going to finish his year at Michigan and then join the team next season. I don't think we'll be seeing him in the lineup this year. Which is kind of a shame because he's a great player, but he said he wanted to go get his full school experience because he didn't get that because of the pandemic. So shout out to him, I guess. But no, he's tearing it up in Michigan right now, and that's just going to make him a better player and give him more experience.
If you had a prediction on the season, how do you think the Sabres would finish in the standings?
Well, if they keep it up at this pace, they're going to finish third in the Atlantic. I don't see that this pace sustaining. They'll probably still finish 7th or 8th in the Atlantic, and 13, 14, 15th in the conference. So, yeah, like I can see them slowing down and losing momentum at the end of the year. But right now they're projected to finish third. So hopefully they can keep it up and maybe sneak into a wild card position. I just think it would take a little bit of a miracle from the hockey gods for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, most of us Sabre fans, I think, we're like ready to be in the playoffs and
Yeah.
like on the drought that the Sabres are in.
Yeah, and it's always fun to have Buffalo in the playoffs because they usually play whichever team they're playing pretty well and maybe can surprise a couple people. I hope they get back there soon and maybe they can see the Leafs in the first round and figure it out from there. Leafs in the first round kind of gives me nightmares because they never win it, but yeah, it's gonna be fun.
What do you think of Kevin Adams so far as being the Sabres GM?
I don't think he's done a very good job. I think it's kind of been like there's only been one big thing he has to do, and that was the whole Eichel situation, and he's handled that pretty poorly so far. I think he's very inexperienced, and he needs somebody there to guide him through what he's doing. Is that a president of hockey operations? Is it like an assistant? You need to bring someone in to kind of show him the ropes and have someone to bounce his ideas off before he just does it, right? He can be his own worst enemy at times, and I think that's kind of the issues he's running into. So I think he'll get better as the years go on, but as of right now, he kind of needs to dumb it down and make the simple moves instead of trying to swing for the fences right away and making himself look like a buffoon.
Do you think like Jason Karmanos is helping him out with that?
If he is, I haven't heard anything about it. I think they got to bring someone from outside the organization in to really make a difference there.
Who do you think that they could bring in to like as an outsider from the organization?
It's a good question, and there's a lot of great candidates who could do it. But again, like, if people are going to want to go in and kind of leave their own stamp on things, and I don't know whether the ownership group would do that. I don't know. Anybody with experience, really. I'm trying to think of names off the top of my head, but I'm just blanking right now. But anyone who has experience being being a hockey operations person, anyone who has experience being a GM. Who's the guy from Pittsburgh that just left, whose name is evading me? He could do a pretty good job there. So yeah, like they'll find someone. I just don't think it'll be this season. It'll probably be an off-season move.
Do you think that Jack Eichel will end up getting the surgery, or do you think that like he'll wait till they make the move and get the contract?
He probably ends up getting the surgery he wants, but I don't think he'll get that surgery while he's a member of the Buffalo Sabres, because they're not going to let him get that surgery. He'll be traded and then he'll have the surgery.
Where can my listeners find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at coach_Josh16. And then you can find me on Instagram at CoachJosh16. And then find the podcast at Offside Hockey Talk or at Orion_Sportscast on Twitter. Those are the two shows I'm on.
Thank you for tuning into Let's Talk 716 Sports. Thank you to my special guest, Josh, and go Sabres.
Go Sabres.